What's up guys, hope everyone is doing well. In this video I'm going to be going over some updates for XYO, but nonetheless, go ahead and get it started here. The first chart I want to go over here is 4 hour. On X, I've been updating this in between the videos that I make, as I've been pointing out this, as you can see here, this pink zone beginning from the wick January 28th, and then also beginning from here, the candle close January 28th, to create this converging, this tightening. What was a resistance zone at this point? Clearly you can tell that XYO appears to be wanting to find support. It's already found some relative rough support here. Obviously it's come back down to it right now. There's two green candles. They could potentially, maybe we're seeing a descending W here with a descending support. And we'll see XYO come back up here. Finally attack this purple resistance zone moving above, notably horizontally speaking, approximately 0.23, that is, up to around 0.26. Zooming out, again, this is going to be the purple zone, going all the way back here to the wick up to 4.5 approximately cents. The candle closed at around approximately 0.37 to here, descending all the way down where we have obviously these wicks here and these two recent moves up here towards the upside. As I mentioned in one of the recent posts on X, there still is, I think it's as time goes on and XY is continuing to show this support here, most notably above this pink zone right here, that the likelihood of seeing a return back down to generally kind of where this vector zone is, maybe even a little bit lower, down to where we see the 800 EMA right here, generally kind of within this zone here, around just approximately, with that median being somewhere around 0.15, a penny and a half. Obviously this 800 EMA has been very important, so I mean we totally could see another move back down and then move back up, and that is actually something that I drew or extracted from the temporal trend that I've been speaking about in the last two videos that I've posted about XYO, because if you go back, there was, going all the way to back to 2024, January to February 2024, when XY, as you can see here, was locally bottoming out and then had this move all the way up here to roughly a penny and a half, which is, I think, no coincidence, where obviously XYO is essentially bottoming out right now, showing a nice structural move back down to the previous local high, which would be that roughly around a penny and a half, a little bit above, a little bit below, because obviously XYO did go down to around 0.13, with 0.15 to around 0.17 kind of being that overall locally the range of the local bottom. But we saw this move here from like late January moving up to end of January, moving down here into this double bottom here for February. Right here would have been around February 4th. Then we start to move in here. Right here is going to be February 6th. Move forward a little bit more. Then we're hitting right here, which here's the 9th. And then leading into the 10th here. And then by the time we're in the 11th, we're right here. So XYO clearly hasn't really seen a move akin to this right here. And I would say XYO is kind of more so still in this state right here where it's already bottomed out. But this right here was what I was referencing, to where we could see one more final move. And also this looks like a W. Final double bottom to set before leading into the actual reversal from those local bottoms. So that could be relative to what we're seeing right here, instead of going lower like that. Also, if you can't notice, this in general price action right here, specifically this area, and I'll go back just to show it looks, and I'll go ahead and just take a bar or fractal pattern here of this entire price action. Let's draw it over to the temporal trend, the area of importance, really the main reason for this update video, since we're reaching a crucial period. Now, we compare the price action that I was pointing to, specifically the earlier half, you'll see kind of this weird choppiness where for here in 2024, January to February, you saw this right here, whereas now 2025, we saw something very similar, and then it comes back down. This move right here would be synonymous with this move right here, so we could compare this double bottom here to this double bottom here, and then this move upwards right here leading into this could be synonymous to where we see XYO now at the brink of making this move right here up towards the back up towards here for respect to the fractal pattern, which would mean that we would see XYO sometime within this month. I think more likely than not, especially if Bitcoin can get its act together and get out of the slump that it's been in for around 3 months. Well, I'm just about 90 days on the dot, really, at this point. We'll see a move of Bitcoin back up here to this orange resistance descending, but also generally this horizontal zone. And then if it might blow right through it and continue to go higher, or it might sit here, consolidate, and then actually finally move up to the next important zones are going to be right here, beginning at this resistance here, but generally just this zone right here from around 2.5 cents all the way up to around roughly 3 cents, and then finally you're going to really kind of have this zone right here of around like 3.5 cents upwards towards the prior all-time local high around 3.5 to 4.5 cents. So we might see something along these lines, where we'll see XYO kind of constructively build up into these zones of importance, move, maybe break up here towards this vector zone, go a little bit higher than the prior local high of around 4.5 cents, come back down and retest maybe something along, maybe and come down this far, sit here for a bit, and then continue to move higher. Now that's just obviously one price route. Many different things could end up unfolding, but that's, I mean, obviously, especially with the way XYO likes to move and how volatile and violent it can be, it very well might just do something like this and just absolutely go buck wild. Lastly, on this chart, I want to point out we zoom in here. On the recent price action, you can see on the stock RSI that this here looks very reminiscent of what we're seeing here. And last time this happened was really this kind of rounded out price action that's leading into this roughly rounded out price action here. So we might see a bounce up. There's also hidden bullish divergence. You can see from here to here is an ascending support as of now. Whereas if you look at that on the same period on the stock RSI, it's descending. So there's that. That's not exactly what happened here. This is more so flatlined and with this descending last time around. So there's that potential hidden bullish divergence that could play out there. There's MACD currently looks like it wants to flip, and it's also ascending, whereas the price here is descending. So there's some bullish divergence to think about there. The RSI, nothing really too important to point out. The RVI here, also a minor bullish divergence that could be shaping up. There is also, again, with this similar to the stock RSI here, ascending on the price. RVI here has been generally here descending. So there's some, some bullish divergences and hidden bullish divergences to think about. Also, if we look here at the ASO with the bullish sentiment building upwards, again, the price is descending recently. There's also, again, here the hidden bullish divergence that could be pointed out. So we could be seeing a hidden bullish divergence leading into a bullish divergence that will then cause XYO to bounce. According to these divergences, also with the structural importance of this resistance zone, also the fact that we see all the moving averages are converged and on top of each other, except for the 800 EMA, which is typical in a lot of cases. So we see the 13, 5, 50, and 200 EMA all right here within this zone, basically all within the bounds of the 50 EMA band, this purple band that you see here, showing generally some sort of pressure being built up. Obviously that could break toward the downside, it could break towards the upside, but all things considered, not only within the microcosm of XYO and its trading, but within the macrocosm of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and everything else, and looking at, let's go look at the dominance here. The dominance recently moved here towards the upside. You can see this trend where it recently had a nice swing back up towards around 60 to 64%. I was mentioning that as a possibility. Going all the way back to around right here. Right now it's appearing to want to find resistance on this long-term resistance here that goes all the way back to here 2017. Also, we did see it briefly come back above the RSI trend here. where it was support, and then obviously we saw the break below, moved back above. Right now it's looking as if it wants to come back below. There's also, look here at the RSI, it's descending, the price is ascending. So we are seeing a bearish divergence there, and also seeing that same thing on the stock RSI here, the MACD, not seeing it, not seeing it on the RVI either. So the RSI and the stock RSI are showing that bearish divergence. The price is also clearly weakening as of right now, and it is also paying attention to, as I made that post on X, if we pay attention to each of these pink vertical lines here, this is generally like just January, February, for example, here 2017, Bitcoin dominance tanked. Here we see January, February 2021, Bitcoin dominance tanked. This is when alt season started really to, altcoins are bottoming out, already starting to constructively build upwards, and then really went parabolic. Let's just say roughly, halfway or so into these tanks in the Bitcoin dominance. And then now 2025, everything seems to be shaping up very much so similarly to the past behavior and the sense of history rhyming with itself, where now we see here December, or rather January, February 2025, we're seeing that bearish divergence, and likely also with the historical downtrend here, going to then see the dominance move down. So that's obviously going to be good for all altcoins to go back. It's, as I mentioned, it's going to be, by the time we see the Bitcoin dominance tank here and actually go below this horizontal purple line here, the 50%, that's going to be the really big, flippening of dominance, where once obviously Bitcoin dominance goes below 50%, that means that the altcoins are now has the upper hand over Bitcoin in terms of the dominance of the overall crypto market. So moving in here to this 12-hour chart, I just wanted to point out here again, we see the similar, or the same, not similar, but the same purple resistance here, which I think I actually drew this on the daily, so this might look a little wonky, but this is still the same resistance. There's this ascending support going all the way back to the low January 26th at around 0.13, 0.14. Again, there's still the chance to see some further movement down to around maybe 0.15, 0.16, 0.17. This would be around the 200 EMA. If that does happen, we could see some drastic wicks, maybe even back down to around 0.13. As long as it maintains this yellow zone here, this is really all that I'm concerned about at this point. Best case scenario would be that it finds a bounce here, moves up, and continues to have constructive price action towards the upside. We look here at the daily, or actually, not the daily, let's go to the weekly. And I want to, again, just reiterate the importance of this ascending yellow resistance / support zone, where we can see, I might have drawn this with the Heikin-Ashi candles, moving here to the Heikin-Ashi candles, we can see here resistance of back in March, April 2021, May, June 2021, but we found this support here. XYO moved here above, came back down, resistance, resistance, resistance. Now it's flipped above it, it's coming down, and I believe what's more likely than not, it's going to find support here. It's going to flip this, since 2021, it's borderlining almost 4 years on the dot here for this being a very crucial ascending resistance for not only the prior bull market here, but going into this bear market here. It was very important resistance being flipped into support. I think a move quite likely back up to the prior all-time high of around 8 cents, as high as up to around 16 towards 20, 21, 22 cents here, and then a further move up towards the projection that I've given of around 50%, not 50%, but 50 cents, all the way up to around $2.30 at highest. I also added this curved linear trend, where you can see that this was the curved linear resistance here, leading into the bear market bottom here. Then it flipped it. We saw the price come back down and bottom out here, leading into the move up to 4.5 cents. Now we're coming down and we're flipping, hopefully, at least, obviously I have no idea what's going to happen, but everything seems to be pointing to this is going to be flipped into support here and move to this green zone, and then up to somewhere within this blue zone. And, you know, that is this curvilinear, you know, this parabolic trend starting from here doesn't necessitate that it's going to have to come and meet this and then bounce back up. It could totally move into this green zone and jump up before it has to come and retouch this curvilinear trend. Also, I want to point out the fact that if we look back here at this red EMA, the 13 EMA, which I pointed this out in the Bitcoin video that's going to be uploaded before this one, the 15 EMA here was respected again, the red moving average, then bounced here. Whereas that's what's happening right now is it's currently being respected. That's exactly what Bitcoin has done. I'll just go ahead and show it here. This is exactly what Bitcoin has done. Did it back here in the period around January, February, March 2023. Moved up. Here we look at, again, around this January, February, leading into March. Here, 2024, 15 EMA respected, moved into the March, April peak here, which again, this is when March, April peaked in 2023, March, April peaked in 2024 here. And then we also see Bitcoin currently is right now respecting it, and I think more likely than not to respect it, and we'll see a move upwards to somewhere around 200 to 250,000 by late Q2, at latest Q4, sometime in Q4, which again, if you're interested, I went over that in the Bitcoin video that's going to be up before this one. But again, so the temporal trend that I've been pointing out for XYO is that it's not that XYO is doing this trend itself. This is the literal, like, this is the crypto-wide. Ethereum's doing it, Cardano's, basically everything's doing it. Each of them have their own idiosyncratic nuances where they might deviate a little bit from the temporal trend, but they're all doing essentially the same thing, basically. So where, as I mentioned for Bitcoin, it moved up to, it first peaks out here, just as XYO did, and around December, moves down to like January, February, then peaks here, as XYO did here in March 2024. Moves down into September, October 2024, then moves back up here, 2024, December, just as it did back here. Then it corrects again into January, February, you know, March 2025, just as it did right here. And then it's going to have the next move up to the next local high sometime around March, April, maybe May at latest. Again, there's always the room, there's always subject to change, especially in something like the temporal trend with how fluid and adaptive it can be to, you know, not only the technical conditions and the fundamental landscape and the conditions within the political spectrum, the political realm and the financial economic realm. So I mean, obviously Bitcoin and XYO, Ethereum, and all the others, they topped out here around March, April 2024. So you know, especially if the upcoming leg to end the bull market for Bitcoin and to really initiate alt season ends up extending or deviating just a tad bit, but still ultimately respecting in some rough sense the temporal trend, we might see, instead of obviously back here was specifically like mid-March, we might see this move up into maybe like mid-April. It might lag about a month behind, but still generally March, April, May is when I think this zone right here is going to be met. It'll trade sideways, and then if that's not over for XYO, the bull market speaking, which I don't think it will be, we'll then see this move up here towards the 50 cents to around $2.30. And it could go higher, as I've said. $7 to $14 is potential. This thing has a approximately $14 billion circulating supply. And I've entertained all the way up to $36, which would put the market capitalization somewhere around approximately 500 billion, so half a trillion. And that's typically where I tend to stop, like half a trillion, starting to get like a little, okay, this is an altcoin. Might be getting a little unreasonable here. So, I mean, if it goes higher than $2.30, I would probably expect somewhere more around like $5, $7, upwards to $14, if anything. If we look here at the, I want to point out the RSI again. Seeing that the RSI here retraced to around the 457 to the 382, moved up. And that's what we're seeing here. Hasn't gone quite as low as you can see here. It's just a tad bit above the 457. So again, there's still that room. Maybe we'll see one more pullback into this yellow zone down to around like 0.15, and we'll see the RSI come down a little bit lower, more similar to how it did back here, and then move up, and then see this move up here towards the upside. Again, the stock RSI looks rather similar as well, where we're seeing this move here, just dipping down. And we're also seeing the stock RSI flip bullish here as well, which is what happened back on the February within the first half of February, which is when Bitcoin or XY here was literally going into this move here into like March, which is exactly what I'm saying with this temporal trend, seeing XYO move up into this green zone. Now, to get specific, February 11th, I posted something on X on February 9th, given that we're reaching a crucial period of time. This weekly candle right here for XYO began on February 5th and ended on the 12th, and this was the final weekly candle before, again, this move according to the temporal trend up to March. Obviously, at this point, it could be March, April, maybe even May at latest, depending upon how things deviate or extend. And that's currently, this current candle is the candle that would be really this candle in the last one, which would be comparative to right here is just before XYZ start to go up. So if we're going to see this trend validated, again, like I said, there could be one more, maybe within this candle dip back down and then it moves up, or maybe the next candle will dip back down and then it moves up, which would entail and imply the extending of the temporal trend and a tad bit of a deviation, where instead of topping out, for example, back here like in March, it'll maybe move more towards somewhere towards the latter half of this green zone, somewhere around like April, pushing like early to mid-May. But generally, again, I mean, it's all really specificities that aren't generally important, because I still think that XY is going to do something along these lines as we really start to see alt season begin, even despite all of the people saying that alt season's dead and it's not coming, which has been said for years, cycle to cycle. People say that. People were saying that in like late 2020. Same thing, where people are saying alt season's not going to happen, and then I made a post about it on the community tab, and I gave, if I were to give any form of advice on this channel, that it would not be technical advice, it would be trading advice according to psychology of trading in the form of wisdom. So if you haven't seen that, or if you're new to this channel or this content, you're interested to see what I said, I would highly urge you to check it out, because it is very helpful if you're to ever garner any advice from some sort of online analyst. If it best be psychological advice when it comes to trading the market. But lastly here, I just want to, again, this is just another weekly chart. I want to point out if you look here, going all the way down to the RVI, so far we're still seeing this uptrend here respected. We haven't seen the RVI quite come down and test it again. So again, that could happen, and we could see that move back down to around like 0.15, maybe with some wicks down to 0.13 again. That's totally possible. But as of right now, it doesn't particularly seem like that is what XYO wants to do. It does seem like it wants to move up, especially if Bitcoin, as I said, can get its act together. It's quite nice that we are seeing XYO correct down here to the 618 of this historical, like all-time historical price data. This inside pitchfork retrace down here to the 618, and then find a bounce to this green zone. Obviously chop here and then move up. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be very important to see Bitcoin not falter over the next week, within the rest of this month leading into March, and not continue to go lower. Because if that happens, then XYO and all the other altcoins are more likely than not, I mean, it's essentially almost a definite outcome that they're going to get significantly brutalized. And if that happens, we could potentially see XYO move down here to the 786, somewhere around right at a penny, which would imply some wicks maybe down to like 0.009, maybe even 0.085 or 0.008 at worst, because that would be where these moving averages here that I have, whether they're estimated moving averages or just plain moving averages here, sit as well. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I don't think that is what is most likely, but it's definitely in the playbook as a route of possibility. And then last, I just want to point this out, because I just think it's very important. If you go back to the past bull market of XY here, you see the massive W, which we're seeing here again happen in that fashion that I just highlighted. And you see this 0.25 here to the 382 zone here, where we see rejection down, we see rejection here, and then it finally breaks. It moves up to the upper bound version of the 382 to 2.5, and we're seeing the exact same thing this time around as well, where we see the 2.5 to 382 here, where we see rejection, 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 rejection. Then going to bounce back up to here, the green zone, somewhere in proximity to the upper bound range of the 2.5 to the 3.82. What's also interesting is that if you look here and you compare right here when it was entering this zone here, the 2.5 to 3.82, down to the lower portions of the inside pitchfork, it was September, October, November 2019. And then we also see the same thing here in 2022, where we're seeing right here October, November. Then it moves back up to here around January, such as we saw this move right here in January 2020, move back up to the 3.82 and the 2.5, and then it gets shot back down, just like it got shot back down right here. So again, there's a lot of other temporal patterns that I haven't particularly pointed out yet, just as that one that really shows some interesting price action and data for XYO. But just to summarize again, could totally see XYO come back down a little bit lower, especially if Bitcoin does not fare well over the next few weeks and over the rest of this month, potentially down to approximately a penny with some wicks down to 0.08 at lowest. But more likely than not, again, I think we're going to see XYO bounce here, we're going to see Bitcoin bounce here, and we'll see alt season truly begin over the next, just generally over the next 6 to 9 months or so. But as always, none of this is meant to be financial advice, but all of that being said, and everything gone over, I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Ooh, I regret now, won't I see you forever, start to